The unforgettable disappearance of Lila Prescott, Marquette, Michigan, 1997. On a cold October evening in 1997, just as twilight surrendered to the encroaching night, 22-year-old Lila Prescott disappeared without a trace from the rugged shoreline of Lake Superior near Marquette, Michigan. No witnesses, no signs of struggle, no answers. The only certainty: the lake held its secrets tightly, and they would remain buried in the shadows. Before we begin, I want to let you know that due to the limited visual materials and the age of this case, there isn't much existing footage or imagery to support the story you're about to hear. As a result, this episode will feature a single image as its background. Think of this as more of an immersive audio experience, a storytelling session that lets your imagination fill in the gaps. Now's the perfect time to grab your headphones, maybe even some popcorn, and settle in. Lila Prescott was known among friends and family as a quietly determined young woman, a person with reflective nature and an unyielding love for the wild spaces surrounding her small university town. She was enrolled at Northern Michigan University, pursuing a degree in environmental science, with particular interest in freshwater ecosystems. In many ways, the dense forests and jagged cliffs of the Upper Peninsula were not just her home, they were a part of her identity. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, those closest to Lila noticed subtle changes. She had become more introspective, sometimes distracted, as if something weighed on her mind. Yet there was no indication of fear or conflict. On the contrary, Lila had been making plans for the coming winter, outlining research projects and tentative trips to study remote lakes across the state. Her bound notebook, found untouched on her dorm room desk, bore no signs of distress or finality. The night she vanished, Lila had told her roommate she planned to take a solitary walk along the shoreline near McCarty's Cove, a secluded area popular among local hikers but rarely crowded after dusk. It was a place where the dense pines gave way to rocky outcrops, overlooking the expansive and often turbulent waters of Lake Superior. The sky was overcast, the air crisp with the promise of frost. She left the dorm around 7:15 p.m., dressed in a worn navy jacket and sturdy hiking boots, carrying a small backpack with notebooks and a flashlight. This was the last confirmed sighting of Lila Prescott. When she did not return by midnight, concern grew. Her roommate, Amy Reynolds, reported her missing the next morning. Law enforcement quickly launched a search, canvassing the shoreline, nearby trails, and the dense woods surrounding McCarty's Cove. Search dogs tracked scents for several miles, but all trails led to dead ends. The flashlight, backpack, and personal effects she carried were never recovered. Marquette's police department logged the case under file number MPD 97-1043. Detective Sergeant Mark Ellison, who had come to lead the investigation, described the scene as eerily devoid of any clue, no footprints in the soft earth, no broken branches, no sign that Lila had been there at all after sunset. Despite an extensive search operation involving state park rangers, local volunteers, and watercraft patrols, no physical evidence was ever uncovered. In the days that followed, local news reported the disappearance widely, though theories varied widely. Some speculated she might have fallen into the lake, the cold waters claiming her silently. Others whispered about the possibility of foul play, though no suspects or motives emerged. The surrounding wilderness, with its dark shadows and unpredictable weather, only deepened the sense of mystery. Lila's family held vigils and pleaded for answers, but as weeks turned into months, hope began to wane. The case remains open but unsolved, cataloged in state missing persons archives as a haunting mystery of the Upper Peninsula, one that continues to puzzle law enforcement and haunt the community to this day. October 18, 1997, a timeline of uncertainty. At 6:45 a.m., the morning of October 18th in Marquette, Michigan, the small university town stirred awake beneath an overcast sky. Lila Prescott, 22, rose from her bed in the shared dormitory at Northern Michigan University. According to her roommate, Amy Reynolds, Lila's morning routine was quiet and methodical. Breakfast in the campus cafeteria, followed by a morning class in environmental biology. Witnesses reported seeing Lila that day, appearing calm and focused, with no signs of distress or distraction. 8 a.m., last known communication. Lila placed a brief call to her mother from the dormitory phone, a local number recorded in police reports as last confirmed communication. The call lasted approximately 2 minutes. Family later described the conversation as normal and cheerful. No unusual remarks, no mention of plans beyond her studies. Investigators reviewed the call logs but found no further outgoing or incoming calls from her line after these incidents. 9:30 a.m. Campus class attendance. Professor Ellen Marks, who taught Lila's environmental biology lecture, confirmed her presence in class until its conclusion at 10:45 a.m. Lila participated actively, asked insightful questions, and stayed afterward to speak briefly about an upcoming research project on Lake Superior's shoreline erosion, a project she was particularly passionate about. 11 a.m. lunch break. Lila had lunch in the university cafeteria with a small group of classmates, according to statements given to Marquette Police Department MPD. Fellow students describe her as engaged but somewhat distracted, occasionally looking out the window toward the campus perimeter that bordered the wooded areas. 12:30 p.m., errands and a visit to the campus library. After lunch, Lila checked out several books and scientific journals related to freshwater ecosystems from the university library. The librarian recalled Lila asking about local flora and fauna and expressed an interest in the McCarty's Cove area for field observations. 2:15 p.m., trip to local outdoor supply store. Lila was spotted by a clerk at Pine Ridge Outdoor Supply on Washington Street, purchasing a compact flashlight, a waterproof notebook, and a small bottle of water. The purchase was unusual for a typical weekday, but not alarming to store employees, who noted Lila's frequent visits during the fall semester to gather supplies for her fieldwork. 3:45 p.m., the last purchase. At 3:45 p.m., Lila stopped by a nearby cafe, ordered a black coffee, and sat quietly at a corner table for about 15 minutes. The barista, who had spoken with Lila on several occasions, noticed she seemed more withdrawn than usual, but said nothing at the time. No interaction with other patrons was recorded. 4:30 p.m., the dormitory return. Lila returned to her dormitory by 4:30 p.m., briefly spoke with Amy Reynolds about plans for an evening walk. Amy recalled that Lila mentioned a desire to clear her head and look at the lake. No further details were shared, and Amy did not find the plan unusual. 6:45 p.m., preparing to leave. Lila changed into her navy jacket and hiking boots, packed a small backpack with her new flashlight, notebook, and water bottle from Pine Ridge. Surveillance footage from a nearby campus security camera, one of the few with operational capability, captured her leaving the dormitory building at 7:15 p.m., heading toward the direction of McCarty's Cove. 7:30 p.m., final confirmed sighting. Two residents, a middle-aged couple walking their dog along a faint trail near the Cove, reported seeing a lone figure resembling Lila Prescott at approximately 7:30 p.m. The woman described Lila as wearing a dark jacket, moving deliberately along the shoreline path, head down as if deep in thought. The couple did not approach, but later gave statements to police after her disappearance was reported. 7:45 p.m. to 9 p.m., the critical unknown. No confirmed sightings or communications have been reported after 7:30 p.m. The search radius of McCarty's Cove and surrounding woodland revealed no footprints or disturbance in the soft earth, an unusual finding for a person walking on dirt paths and rocky shores. Despite the presence of fallen leaves and soft soil, no clear signs indicated the direction Lila took or she ventured off the main path. Physical evidence, an absence that speaks volumes. The absence of physical evidence was among the most perplexing aspects for investigators. The following details were noted during the initial search. No personal items found. Lila's backpack, flashlight, and notebook were never recovered. This was particularly puzzling given that these items were essential for a planned walk and field research. No footprints or tracks. Despite a thorough search by K-9 units, rangers, and volunteers, no distinct footprints matching Lila's shoes were located in the immediate vicinity. No vehicle left behind. Lila's blue 1991 Subaru Legacy station wagon was parked outside the dormitory building on the evening of October 18th and remained there until recovered by her family several days later. No phone or wallet found. Aside from the dormitory phone call, Lila was known not to carry a personal cell phone, a common practice at the time. Her wallet, containing ID and cash, was never found. No disturbances or signs of struggle. The area showed no evidence of fight or forced removal. The response: local authorities and search efforts. The Marquette Police Department quickly categorized the case as a missing person investigation under file number MPD 97-1043. Detective Sergeant Mark Ellison, with 20 years of experience in northern Michigan law enforcement, was assigned as lead investigator. Within hours of the report, search and rescue teams, including local fire department personnel, park rangers, and volunteer groups, were mobilized to sweep the heavily wooded area around McCarty's Cove and adjacent trails. Watercraft units patrolled the shoreline to check for signs of distress or bodies in the water. Despite exhaustive efforts spanning 10 days, these searches turned up no evidence. The K-9 units trained in human scent detection were similarly unable to track a scent trail beyond the edge of the wooded trail, indicating either an abrupt end to her path or possible contamination of scent. Emotional toll: family and friends. Lila's disappearance sent shockwaves through the tight-knit university community and her family. Her mother, Janet Prescott, described the experience as an unbearable waiting, like living in a nightmare you cannot wake from. Family members coordinated with police to issue public appeals for information. Friends expressed a mixture of disbelief and helplessness. Amy Reynolds, her roommate, recalled, "Lila was never one to disappear like this. It just doesn't add up." Classmates, professors, and neighbors organized vigils and searched the surrounding area themselves, clinging to the hope that she might return. Media coverage and public theories. Local news outlets ran continuous stories on the disappearance, painting a somber picture of a young woman lost to the unforgiving wilderness. The Marquette Daily Mining Journal's headline on October 25th read, "Where's Lila Prescott? Mystery deepens at Lake Superior's shoreline." As coverage intensified, theories and rumors began to circulate. Theory 1, accidental drowning. Some locals posited that Lila may have slipped on the rocks and fallen into the lake. Lake Superior is notorious for its cold, treacherous waters, and drowning incidents, though often witnessed, are not unheard of. However, the lack of a body or any floating debris months after the disappearance cast doubt on this theory. Theory 2, voluntary disappearance. A small faction speculated that Lila might have chosen to vanish intentionally, citing her introspective mood in recent weeks. No evidence supported this, and the family strongly denied any history of distress or plans to leave. Theory 3, stranger encounter. Rumors emerged about a suspicious man seen near McCarty's Cove earlier that day, described vaguely by a local hiker. The description was unsubstantiated, and police were unable to locate or identify any such individual. This became a red herring that diverted resources briefly, but was eventually discarded due to a lack of evidence. Theory 4, an obsessive admirer. In the weeks following, an anonymous tip led police to question a former classmate who had shown a fixation on Lila. Interviews and searches produced no incriminating evidence, and the lead was closed, though it added strain to the investigation. Investigator challenges. The investigation faced several notable hurdles. Lack of witnesses. No one saw Lila enter a vehicle or leave the area after 7:30 p.m., no phone activity, and no one reported hearing cries or disturbances. Harsh terrain. The rocky shoreline and dense woods made thorough searches difficult, notably as weather conditions deteriorated with the approach of winter. Limited forensic evidence. The absence of physical clues hampered forensic progress. No biological samples, fibers, or traces were recovered. Small community dynamics. Marquette's tight-knit population led to numerous unofficial searches and tips, some of which were helpful, while many were distracting. Official statements. Detective Sergeant Ellison held a brief press conference 2 weeks after the disappearance. "We are committed to finding answers for Lila Prescott's family and the community. Our teams continue to search, review leads, and follow every viable avenue. At this stage, no evidence points definitively to what happened. We urge anyone with information, no matter how minor, to come forward." Janet Prescott, Lila's mother, appealed emotionally. "Lila was a light in our lives. We believe she's still out there. Please help us bring her home." The cliffhanger, an unseen clue. On November 12th, nearly a month after Lila vanished, an anonymous letter was sent to the Marquette Police Department. It contained a grainy black and white photograph showing a distant, blurry figure standing near the rocky shore of McCarty's Cove, wearing what appeared to be a dark jacket similar to Lila's. Alongside the photo was a cryptic message: "Look deeper where the water hides what the forest forgets." Police classified the letter as evidence under MPD case file 97-1043-EB. The sender was never identified, and the photograph's origin remained a mystery. It reopened hope, but also raised questions. Was this a clue or another cruel distraction? Nearly 3 decades have passed since 22-year-old Lila Prescott vanished from the rugged shores of Lake Superior near McCarty's Cove. Despite exhaustive searches, community efforts, and persistent investigation, her disappearance remains unresolved, a haunting case that continues to perplex law enforcement and captivate the public. This final installment explores the primary theories proposed by investigators, family members, and the public. Each theory presents a plausible narrative, grounded in the facts and complexities of the case. Yet none offer definitive closure. On the evening of October 18, 1997, Lila Prescott left her dormitory at Northern Michigan University, heading toward McCarty's Cove for a solitary walk. A local couple last saw her at approximately 7:30 p.m. near the shoreline. After this, her trail vanished. Physical evidence was scarce to non-existent. No footprints, no personal belongings, no signs of struggle. Her car remained parked at the dormitory. The only enigmatic piece, a grainy photograph sent anonymously weeks later, suggesting someone observed her near the cove. Despite thorough searches by law enforcement volunteers and canine units, no trace of Lila or her belongings was uncovered. Accidental death, the perils of Lake Superior. Lake Superior is infamous for its unpredictable weather, icy waters, and treacherous rocky shores. The lake's surface can shift rapidly from calm to violent storms, with undertows and cold temperatures that sap strength within minutes. Proponents of this theory argue that Lila may have slipped from the rocky shoreline, fallen into the water, and succumbed to hypothermia and drowning. The absence of a recovered body is not unusual given the lake's size, cold, and currents. Supporting points. Lila intended to walk along the shore at dusk, a time when visibility and footing were likely to be poor. No footprints suggesting she left the area by land after 7:30 p.m. The lake has a history of drowning incidents with unrecovered bodies. However, this theory struggles with a lack of evidence, as no wet footprints, no disturbed rocks, and no floating debris were found during extensive searches. Moreover, Lila was an experienced outdoorswoman familiar with the local terrain, making an accidental fall less likely. The shadow of foul play, an alternative theory, suggests Lila may have been the victim of a calculated abduction. Several factors support suspicion of foul play. The complete absence of footprints or evidence could suggest she was taken forcibly from the area. The mysterious, unverified sighting of a suspicious man near McCarty's Cove earlier that day, though unconfirmed, raised alarms. The anonymous letter and photograph were sent to police weeks later, implying that someone had followed or observed Lila. If true, this scenario paints a chilling possibility: a predator exploiting the isolation and darkness of the cove. Yet, no physical evidence, no signs of a struggle, no personal items recovered, and no known suspects has emerged to confirm this. Police inquiries into local persons of interest have yielded no leads, and the case remains in its cold status. Voluntary disappearance, a silent escape? Some have speculated that Lila may have intentionally chosen to disappear. Factors supporting this hypothesis include witnesses described her as introspective and withdrawn in the weeks preceding the incident, her known desire to explore remote areas, and interest in environmental research, which could be interpreted as a prelude to leaving her current life behind. The absence of phone or wallet suggests she may have planned carefully. Yet, this theory conflicts with accounts from family and friends, who insist Lila had no reason to flee or distress. Financial records showed no unusual activity, and no communications indicated a planned departure. Moreover, her strong bond with her family and future ambitions argued against a voluntary disappearance. The case of Lila Prescott remains officially open, but investigation efforts have slowed considerably with time. The anonymous letter and photograph, cataloged as evidence but unsolved, add an eerie layer of ambiguity. Critical unanswered questions persist. Who sent the letter? Was it an attempt at taunting, a genuine clue, or a cruel hoax? Could there have been an unknown individual in the area that evening whose presence was unnoticed or deliberately concealed? What happened to Lila's backpack and belongings? Were they removed from the scene by a third party or lost in terrain yet undiscovered? Family members continue to advocate for renewed attention, holding on to hope for new technology or witnesses to surface. Lila Prescott's disappearance remains one of Marquette's most enduring mysteries, a case defined by what is not known as much as what is. It is a stark reminder of how fragile life can be, especially when intersected by nature's unforgiving elements and human uncertainty. Was Lila's fate the result of a tragic accident, a slip into the icy depths of Lake Superior? Was it something darker, an abduction in the shadows? Or perhaps a decision born of inner turmoil, a voluntary escape that left no trace? The truth remains elusive. What do you think happened to Lila Prescott? Was it a tragic accident or something far more sinister? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more content relating to horrors and missing cases.